Welcome in, everybody, to another episode of Fantasy Football Picks and Bets presented to you by PrizePicks. I know, weird, but yeah, it's presented by PrizePicks, everybody. And if you have not gone and signed up already, please do so. Sign up at prizepicks.com, use the promo code MMN, or there is a link in the description of this video. It takes you there. You sign up with the promo code MMN because your deposit of up to $100 gets doubled. And that's what we're here for, is to help you make some money by spending some money in a super fun way, because it's football and it's exciting because it's almost here. We're going to switch up our show just a little bit today since we are wrapping up week season. I did it again. That's going to be my thing. I need a t-shirt. Week season, preseason, week 3. It happens. Dyslexic. We'll go with it because I think it's kind of fun. Makes people think. But we're wrapping this up. And we have a very special guest who I am super excited to work with because I finally get to work with him after knowing him for quite some time. So please, everyone, welcome in my friend, LaQuan Jones.
Hey, what's going on?
Hey, I mean, I've obviously been better. I think week season pre-3, I could have fixed that the last time I did week season pre-2, but did I? No, LaQuan, I did not. I just did it again. I'm just going to have to make it a thing. T-shirts.
Every single week. Just do it on purpose.
I feel like things get serious when you make a t-shirt out of them.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Yep.
Yeah. So how are you? Did you have a nice weekend, by the way?
The weekend was great. Had some great soccer news. I'll bring a little soccer to it. But Cristiano Ronaldo's back in Manchester. So that's a quick plug-in right there. But my weekend has been very ecstatic. Just football's on TV. The family's good and just chilling, relaxing. And I get to talk football with you.
Yes, you may come to regret this by the end of the show, but hopefully not. So again, everybody, we're going to hop in like we always do with our prize picks, but we are doing season-long prize picks. We're not just focusing on one slate of games. We're looking at the entire season. So if you are following along on prizepicks.com, promo code MMN, it will be up in that icon that says NFL_FUT. That is what we're going to be looking at. And they have a lot of options for us to take a look at here, LaQuan. It's not just, the rushing, passing, blah, blah, blah. That is, the more basic version when we're looking at specific games. But we have, I'm going to break them down into 2 categories just to make it easier for my brain to digest without a black hole opening up inside my cerebellum. So we're going to start off with rushing yards, passing yards, and receiving yards. We're going to call those the yardage here. So on those first 3 categories here, LaQuan, is there one or maybe more than one that really pops out to you under those 3 categories that it's like, oh my gosh, pick me. I am the obvious over-under.
I'm going to take DeAndre Swift with the under for 900 yards. Last season, he had 521 yards.
Spicy.
It gets a little bit spicier. But I think
caliente.
Anthony Lynn's definitely going to use him exactly like Austin Eckler. In a light comparison, not much of talent, but in usage. I definitely think Anthony Lynn's going to focus on getting Swift the ball out of the backfield as a pass catcher, especially there's not that much good wide receiver help there. Not that they're bad. It's just underdeveloped and unproven. So I think
bad works. Go with that.
I can't say bad. They're just underdeveloped. They have some.
You're obviously nicer than I am. Continue.
Good cop, bad cop. I love the chemistry already. But definitely, I'm looking for yards, out of the backfield, out of Swift. I'm not looking too much, for the rushing yards. 900 is kind of a stretch. I mean, if we look at Austin Eckler, he has yet to get over 600 yards. So I think we accepted that 1,000 yards or even close to 1,000 yards isn't something Austin Eckler or Swift can achieve.
I'm actually looking right now because I did this last time, and I'm really glad I did this. DeAndre Swift under. Nailed it, and I have got it in. I'm going to go back to, there you are. I flipped through my screens and I lost where my button was to see your beautiful face. Now let me go back to the show doc. 1 second. There we go. Excellent. All right. So we had, that was under, you said that was for rushing yards, right?
Yes.
Okay. And that's the one that really stands out to you
that's
most.
Eye opener. That's the only one that I saw for rushing yards that I just had to smash it as an under. That's not going to happen.
I love it. And a lot of people may not like that because of all of this love that gets thrown in DeAndre Swift's way, which if you're not familiar with how Anthony Lynn operates or anything that he's been saying in the offseason, it's committee. Yes. And I also do actually in redraft, I prefer looking at Jamal Williams there as a real late pickup that you can get that will be sharing time with DeAndre Swift. So I absolutely love that. So let's go on to our next category for passing yards. Who you got here?
Passing yards, I'm going to go with the under again. Lamar Jackson, this definitely pops out to me for 3,450 yards they have him. Last season, he only put up like 2,700 yards and 376 passing attempts, which were dead last per game. So I don't see them throwing the ball much, being that most of their wide receivers are hurt. Hamstring injuries with, Rashad Bateman, the rookie that we're loving and hoping to get, to a fast start. I mean, the dude's talented, but now he's starting the season hurt. Sammy Watkins, not that much of a good, history with health. And then Marquise Brown also dealing with hamstring injuries as well. So they're back to square one with no wide receivers. Like, can you believe it? Oh, God, what do they do? They're a run-first offense, so I'm not too worried about them. I really feel like they're going to go back to square one, what they were doing, and that's running the ball. So, again, 3,400 yards may actually be a stretch for Lamar Jackson to achieve because we know they're going to run the ball a ton.
Yeah, he uses his legs anyway, so especially with this recent news that has come out, which we will touch on a little bit later, which is super unfortunate. Lamar Jackson will be yet again another running back quarterback. So that is something to expect from him. I like that from Lamar Jackson. And then just to round out our yardage section that I have properly processed in my brain, receiving yards, who you got here?
Receiving yards, now I have Robbie Anderson. I'm just going to do a whole bunch of unders. I want guys to just hit these quick bits and get the cash. So
okay, I like it.
Robbie Anderson for 950 yards, that popped out to me because I'm just not a firm believer of Sam Darnold. I really feel like this is something that we need to smash play now because Teddy Two Glove was able to achieve 3 wide receivers inside the top 25. This is something that I don't see Sam Darnold being able to do. I know the chemistry's there when they connected and, with the Jets, but I don't see Sam Darnold being able to live up to par weekly and a season long to be able to spread the ball around. And not to mention Terrence Marshall Jr. is stepping up, making some noise in preseason. So he might actually leap over Robbie Anderson to be the second target in that offense. So Robbie Anderson might have a little struggle for that 955 yards.
Yeah, I like that. It's a little hard to get behind Sam Darnold, right? Like it feels like he's been in the league for a really long time, even though he's not, he's still young, but yeah. This has now gotten to the point where you have to prove it to me. I am from Missouri, so our slogan is Show Me State. And I feel like I am fully embodying this line and as a part of my life, especially when it comes to Sam Darnold. So awesome. Let's go ahead and move on to some of the other fun things that we have on PrizePicks for season long. Promo code MMN, everybody. And we can take a look at passing touchdowns, rushing touchdowns, receiving touchdowns, and even sacks. So let's go ahead and start with the first one, passing touchdowns. Which one of this category really stood out for you?
I mean, passing touchdowns, we can lock it in for Matthew Stafford. I believe he's going to achieve over those 30 touchdowns. I really think he's going to have a 5K season. And this isn't a homer pick. I mean, Matthew Stafford, Sean McVay, it's the stars are aligned. Like it's a beautiful connection, a beautiful chemistry that's going to be building. The playbook is going to open up. He has a veteran quarterback there that has the football IQ. He doesn't need to hold his hand, going on the field, reading the defenses. So this is a smash play here from Matthew Stafford.
I love that because I love Matthew Stafford. Now on Friday's show, or was it Thursday night? I remember my days run together, but I do have the obligatory Lion fan inside of me because my husband is a Lions fan. So ergo, I must also be a Lions fan because I am a loving wife and quite supportive. I also despise the Rams because I'm from St. Louis and they divorced me to go back to their second wife. So I'm in this very strange place in my life where I'm like, but I love Matthew Stafford, but I don't like the Rams, like for simple personal, like totally lady reasons of being bitter and hurt. But it is hard for me not to just understand how incredible that season is going to be with Matthew Stafford at the helm. So I may find a place for my signed Matthew Stafford helmet back on my shelf that was behind everything over here that I spilled off of the shelf on the other show, which my poor producer has to put up with me. I don't really know why, but I could find a place for Matthew Stafford. I love that. Locking it in on the over for Matthew Stafford for those touchdowns. I think it was like 29.5, right?
Yes.
Get that right? Yeah, I like that. I like that one a lot too. Okay, let's go to rushing touchdowns. Which one stands out for you here, LaQuan?
I'm going to go with the under for Josh Jacobs at that 8.5. I'm taking the under just based off of Kenyon Drake, him carving out a role as a capable goal line back. Now, we saw Kenyon Drake. He ranked 4th in goal line duty with 9 touchdowns inside the 5. That's in the same conversation with a Derrick Henry, a Dalvin Cook, and an Alvin Kamara. So being that Josh Jacobs has a guy behind him that is very good in the red zone, very good at the goal line. This is pumping the brakes on this 8.5. I do not see this achievable for Josh Jacobs.
I love that. Are you in my brain? I'm wondering, I mean, I'm sure you have your ESP working all up in there because you're
No,
literally saying the same things that I do firmly believed for redraft, which is what works so great about season long prize picks is that you can kind of get this idea of what we've been preparing for all summer.
yeah.
And then you can put it in this way on prizepicks.com promo code MMN to make some money off of it, which is, pretty exciting. But I am the same way, just like we were talking about DeAndre Swift and Jamal Williams. I'm kind of going for the Kenyon Drakes, especially in PPR, the Kenyon Drakes. There's only one, but you know what I mean? I'm going for players like that
Yeah.
way later in the draft so that I can have that value, save it for earlier. I hear you here. This one is really tough for me to see him going past that as well. If he did, would it surprise me? No. But yeah, I'm kind of the same way there for Josh Jacobs. I love it. Again, I think you're in my head. All right, receiving touchdowns. We are almost done with our prize picks, people. If you're following along, remember it's on the NFL_FUT. So we have our receiving touchdowns next. Who you got here for me?
Deontay Johnson with the 6.5, it was a little attractive to smash it, but I'm going for the under for the smash here. I'm going with it for the simple fact that he's not the number one red zone target. We already know Juju put up a major 9 touchdowns last season, so he's obviously the number one target there in the red zone when it comes to that. Claypool came in at second spot. Deontay Johnson was the third, which is all set to potentially change with Najee Harris there. So he's a very capable back that has the Le'Veon Bell type-ish workload who can be able to run the ball as well, meaning that he's a big body stud that's definitely going to be taking those red zone touches. So I definitely think, Deontay Johnson at the 6.5, especially with a low A dot, especially with, Big Ben targeting other guys like Juju and Claypool in the red zone, Deontay Johnson doesn't seem fair to have that 6.5. So I'm going with the under as a smash.
We were best friends until just now. We really were. I mean, things were going well, and then you had to go pull that. I disagree with you here. And the reason I disagree with you here is because he's a target monster. He had to deal with a lot of drops that were his problem, but it's not unfixable. And I think he has been working on that. Big Ben does like to target him a lot. Now, is that going to translate over into touchdowns? I'm not exactly sure, but I'm not scared of him for redraft, but I'm going to follow your advice here.
I
And
love him. I love him.
I know I love Deontay Johnson too. And I really hope he's worked on his drops in the offseason. But, hey, that's what happens. He's also a young player too. So let's wrap it up and go touch on the sacks, which are super fun to watch people crush each other. I'm sorry. I'm a cave woman. Actually, I am. I am legitimately mostly Neanderthal.
Stop.
But I like watching people crush each other. Who'd you got?
Oh my God. So I got Nick Bosa for the 9.5 sacks. I was going to go with the over, but I'm going with the under, being that Robert Saleh is not as the defensive coordinator there. He's now a Jets head coach. He lost that spark. He lost that guy that brought the energy. Like we all watch him, bring that energy to the defense. And he's also returning back from an injury as well. So he might have lost a step. So he has a nice hill to climb for that 9.5. And he has also have very talented linebackers and other linemen around him that can probably achieve that, being that he's the one coming back from injury. So I don't think this is achievable at the 9.5. So take the under.
Gotcha. Under on Nick Bosa. I like it, especially without that Robert Saleh connection and the lack of spark. Our spark died too when you were, bad mouthing Deontay Johnson. So it's fine.
I love him. We have to follow the volume. I love him for redraft.
I know. I'm messing with you, my friend. I'm messing with you. Okay. So there you have it, guys. Again, if you're following along, it's the NFL_futures. These are our season long picks that we're doing. I could not ask for a better person to come and help me make those decisions because this is the kind of stuff that LaQuan does. These are the things that he studies and just gets immersed in it. So thank you so much, everybody, for signing up with promo code MMN. So use promo code MMN, PrizePicks.com. There's also a link in the description of this. And I said thanks to everybody because I'm looking at my producer and at LaQuan. So that just kind of got lumped into it. But yeah, thank you for helping me make some money. I am excited to get moving on this. And the season is about to start, which means draft season is right around the corner. If you haven't done it already, it's likely going to be here very soon. I actually had 2 drafts yesterday at the same time. I don't recommend it. It was not easy. It was pretty tough. One of them was an online draft with Liz Loza, shameless name drop. So yeah, that one was the easy one you have on your phone, right? And everything's all there. The other one was at a bar where there's, it's a mess. It's like herding cats. Nobody knows what to do. No one has a plan. It was pretty interesting. But when you have a draft, LaQuan, Do you have a specific strategy in mind? Do you have something that you do when you get to a draft? Tell us, what's your thought process?
So going into a draft, especially if it's my home league, I got to expect the unexpected. I mean, my home league mates are just off the wall, unpredictable. So you can't really go in with a plan, but you have to be prepared to hit that audible. So you got to be ready to shift some rankings, some tiers, and et cetera, et cetera. I'm a tiers guy as well. I think tiers are probably something better to use when you go into like these home leagues because again, expect the unexpected. So I definitely want to just audible if I see like a crazy pick go up before like a complete reach. Like I have nightmare stories. I've seen Kieran Johnson go in the second round. Seen,
Oh, Russell Wilson was picked first overall in
oh
this league
my
I was in Saturday. Yeah, someone who didn't even, they had no idea what they were doing. So I had to step in and help out. And I gave him a tier breakdown rankings, actually.
yeah, it's nuts. So home leagues, they're fun. They're definitely unexpected. So don't take it too serious. But a strategy I do like though will be if I am like in a regular league, with other analysts, other people who've been playing for a long time, is definitely go running back heavy the first 2 rounds. I want to secure those first 2 spots, make me sleep better at night, knowing I have an RB1 who's getting max touches and an RB2 that's probably getting close to max touches. So I'm not in those later rounds looking for guys like a Miles Gaskin or Miles Sanders or guys that aren't going to get max touches. So I definitely feel as though secure those running backs in the early rounds because wide receivers are deep this year. You can end up with a Deontay Johnson, which is a steal.
I love that. I'm the same way. I like to have that security at night when I'm like not freaking out because at least I know my running backs are taken care of because you're right. They do fall off of a cliff the further you get along in your drafts. So keeping those early spots open in your draft for running backs that you know are going to have what you called it max touches is great. I like the audible. I like that you called it like, calling it audible. I usually say be like water, like don't ever
Yeah.
have like don't be married to it when you go into your draft. Have an idea of what you want to do. And for anyone not familiar with what tiers are, it's basically looking at ranks of players. In a tier, think of it like a bucket or a category, right? And there are certain players per position that, experts think could score the similar amount of points. So they are put into the same tier. And what this does help everybody with, especially myself, because I fall victim to this, is you can avoid the dreaded draft tilt, right? So if you miss on your guy, it's okay. Just go to a next guy that's available in that same tier, and you know that this guy could produce possibly the same amount of fantasy points, even though he's not that one that you had your heart set on. I really like that. I'm also a big sleeper person. I love to use the last like 3 picks in my draft and just take a dart throw on people. Because sometimes when they hit, you're the smartest person ever. But when they don't, you're like, so
Nobody
come to
knows.
the waiver wire. It's educated guessing. Don't worry about it. Yeah, I love that. I love that. Okay, so I'm also a late QB girl. What about you?
I am a late QB guy when it comes to quarterbacks that are like Big Ben, Matthew Stafford. This is all last year, the year before that. This year, I got my eyes on Kirk Cousins and Derek Carr. They're basically the guys that sit outside that top 10 that I can really get. And on a week-to-week basis, they can give me 20 points. That's all I really need if I'm stacked at the other positions. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree with you there. Streaming quarterbacks is also something that I can do in leagues as well. But
Mhm.
again, like we talked about with the running backs, do not waste some of those earlier spots on your team that have to be filled with way more valuable players.
Yeah.
Wait a little bit on wide receiver because, like we said, wide receiver depth is huge this year.
Yeah.
It usually is like your wide receiver 2 and 3 will give you so many more fantasy points than a running back 2 or 3. So just remember that when you're building it. I also like to do a roster construction, so I make sure that I'm super comfortable and I have at least one stud at those positions
Yep.
that I can play around with maybe the 2 or 3. Like for example, I know that I've got my RB1 set, but there wasn't really anyone that I loved when it came all the way back to me. So I went ahead and took a stud, wide receiver instead. But then at least I know who I want to target in some later rounds before it gets too late. So just always have that. Be like water, call the audible. Don't get hammered. I think would be a really, really good advice. So I asked LaQuan this story. So I'm going to ask you to tell me yours first, and then I will tell mine. But what has been your worst draft experience ever?
All right. So my worst draft experience was my first year doing a live draft with my buddies, my home league, and it was just a complete mess. Some guys were going to the wrong location. Some guys weren't picking up the phone. Some guys were scheduled to do a Zoom. and draft because they were in different countries or whatever the state. So 4 of those people happened to be the first 4 picks. And we're just sitting there waiting, like, oh yeah, what do we do? Do we give them best available, or it's too early in the draft to actually think like, all right, this is basically a wash. So mid draft, I had to switch everything online. Everybody's just hanging out, and it's like, this sucks. This is supposed to be a live draft. So that was probably the worst experience I ever had.
Live drafts are tough. Speaking of live drafts, I have a league that I'm in that is rambunctious, let's call them. They're rambunctious. They are a lot of fun. It's a group of wonderful gentlemen that I happen to be acquainted with, and I love it. I think I'm the youngest person there. Maybe I'm not. I have no idea. But we all drafted a bar. So step one, not good, right? So if you're at a bar and drafting, make sure that you have a plan with your alcohol consumption if you are above the age of 21. Just want to make sure I throw that in there, right?
Nice little
so yeah. So one of the people here is not known for holding their liquor well and kind of turns into a crazy person. So we all like team up to make sure that he doesn't do shots before round 6. Like we really try to limit him to round 6. We bribe the bartender who's also in our league to make him drinks with no alcohol in it until 6 or 7, so that it's for him, it's for him. It's for the league. Okay. It's for his own good. I feel like such a stepmom saying that right now. Yeah, right. So last year we did so great. He didn't get too hammered, but then like the last 3 or 4 rounds, everyone's like, whatever, dart throws. We're just kind of making it a guess. And he was doing really good. I was super proud. So time for me to go. I got into my Uber, went and gave everyone a last hug goodbye. And I went to go give him a hug goodbye. And then suddenly I feel this horrible pain in the side of my face. And I was like, oh my God, did you just bite me? And he did. He went to go give me a kiss on the cheek and bit my whole face. Like I said, I have a very small head, like we were talking about before this show. So it looks like a Rottweiler tried to bite my face off. It's literally this big. It's bad. So when I was telling this story to LaQuan, he's like, I just laughed out loud when I read this. Are you serious? I sent him the picture of this huge bruise on my face. And I have an arrow pointing to it in case you can't see it, because it was bad. And it was, oh man, it was horrible. So I'm still stunned. And I get into the Uber and I'm like, is my face red? He's like, yeah, it's really red. I'm like, I think my friend just bit me. He's like, he's not your friend. And I was like, that's a really good point. It's a really good point. Yeah. So when we got home, I had to urge my husband to not go back and engage in fisticuffs, because this guy was so drunk, he would probably just fall over and die or something. We don't want that. So yeah, that was a really horrible, like the draft itself was fine. But that afterwards, like mixing super good friends and, a draft and lots of booze for like 6 hours straight, because it's a live draft and we were 3 hours late starting because nobody knows how to get their act together at all. Like, get your shit together. Why are we doing this at the time the draft is supposed to start? Anyway, that's for another time. Be prepared. Like you guys were in that one league.
Please.
Be prepared. Is there anything else you wanted to add for any draft strategies, anything, any draft
we could
stuff?
Talk a little bit about stacking. I just became a fan of
stacking. Yes. Great idea. I like that.
So I've recently been able to stack Justin Herbert and Austin Eckler with the side of bacon, which is the Keenan Allen. I actually love this stack. This is like something that I haven't been able to do a lot, but being that wide receivers are deep, Keenan Allen's going in like that, 4th round. Austin Eckler, if you're doing a super flex, you go Justin Herbert. If you're at the 110 through 112 spot, you can hit that wrap around and have Austin Eckler. So I definitely think I'm starting to be a fan of stacking, and I want to see if I can reap the benefits this season in that one league with that 3 stack.
Yeah, I like that too. It's very rare that I will target more than 2 players on a team. Mm-hmm. It has to be very specific. Like, Justin Herbert just proved that he is a prolific passer. So yes, I'm okay with doing like a Justin Herbert, Austin Eckler, Keenan Allen. I wouldn't necessarily love that for me, but I would also not mind that with like Patrick Mahomes, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, and Tyreek Hill.
Yes.
Or if you don't get Tyreek Hill, you could do a Travis Kelce in there. I don't mind that. But the one thing that I do avoid at all costs is having 2 receivers on the same team. Don't do that.
No.
I
don't care
just
who it
don't
is.
do it. And the same person that took Russell Wilson first overall literally wanted to make his whole team Seahawks. I'm like, you shouldn't do that. And he's like, why not? And I was like, well, but what happens if they have a bye? And he's like, oh,
Yeah,
literally, he's
Biden's
never
not.
played fantasy football before, and he was just trying to fill in, the poor guy. So
Yeah,
yeah, don't do that because you're going to be eating it on each other's production. The target volume drops way down. Diversify, spread that out a little bit. I don't ever mind having wide receiver, running back. I prefer quarterback, wide receiver, and only in very specific cases would I have more than two. So it really just depends. It is fun, but when you do have a bye, you have some work to do. You
yeah,
know,
some pain.
scour the waiver wire for sure. But I do like stacking, and I hope it works out for you too. I even found myself in a lot of situations this year where I have the ability to stack, unless it was two receivers on the same team. So
Yeah.
I've obviously avoided that.
I just became a fan. Hopefully, I benefit, and then maybe next year, I'll let you know how it goes. If I'm happy about it, and then if I'm not
Lauren,
happy,
don't ever do this again.
yeah, 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 don't do
I
it.
love it. I love it. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and do a quick little recap on the week season pre-3. See, I meant to do it that time.
Yeah, I'm not saying
I
it's not
still need
making
I
it
still
too.
need to make a shirt on. I still need to get a shirt on it. All right, but we are going to talk about the final preseason games that we have on. In fact, they are going on still right now. But before we get into that, there are some pretty devastating injury news that we need to let y'all know of if you haven't heard of them already. Obviously, the big one is the Baltimore Ravens running back J.K. Dobbins, who I know a lot of people are super high on. He has suffered and confirmed a torn ACL that is a season ending injury. I think you and I both cried.
Yeah, I cried twice because again, I have
I was just once, but twice as sad.
the uncomfortable amount of shares of J.K. Dobbins. So on top of
I have
that,
none.
it's just twist the knife. I became a believer of the run first offense. I became a believer that he's like the RB1, even though we know Lamar Jackson's the RB1, but he's the RB1. I had high hopes for him, and it's so unfortunate. I wish he didn't play in that game. He didn't need the reps. And again, this goes back to why I hate preseason. Like, just
I
get rid of it.
know.
Just get rid of it.
I
We did
know.
fine last year. Let's just get rid of it because things happen like this, and it's just so unfortunate that his season's possibly done.
Oh, it is done.
Yeah, with the injury, I definitely think Gus Edwards is obviously the next guy up. There
Mm-hmm.
isn't much PPR upside between both of them anyway. So Gus Edwards becomes the pure runner, the goal line runner. It just sucks. It really just sucks, man. I just hate injuries in preseason. I hate injuries, period.
Yeah. Yeah, it's tough. I think I tweeted out too, like this sucks on so many levels, but speedy recovery to J.K. Dobbins, and we
Yeah.
will see him in 2022. So let's hope everything goes well with the surgery and recovery, and he'll be even bigger and better and more awesomer in
Yes.
2022. So let's hope that for him. Another one too that is interesting. Tight end Irv Smith suffered a meniscus tear,
Oh,
so he is, I know, right? Another huge name that we've been kind of
yeah.
touting in the off season.
I've been
To he's a
that
sleeper
drum.
tight end, beating that
Yes.
drum for him, right? And he did suffer a meniscus tear. He is slated to miss at least the beginning of the season. So just be aware of that. If you have already drafted him on your team, make sure you have a contingency plan. He's not out for the season, but the timeline is murky. So that's another one. Another piece of news that is, man, I'm not sure if I care about or not, is wide receiver T.Y. Hilton is going to miss multiple weeks with an unspecified injury. I forgot he was still in the NFL. I'm kidding. I knew he was there. I'm excited for the Colts offense, but
Yes.
that's the thing. So understand that with T.Y. Hilton, this may bump up Michael Pittman.
Yeah.
Even in the later rounds, you're talking Zach Pascal, Paris Campbell. So there's a lot of names here that don't necessarily make this incredibly debilitating.
Yeah.
And speaking of the Colts, the quarterback heir apparent, I don't even know if to call him heir apparent, but the QB2 who's on that team, Sam Ellinger. He has a knee sprain, so he's going to be missing, I think, 5 to 6 weeks is what the timeline is for now. So if Carson Wentz cannot go, that means you should not play any Colts players except for Jonathan Taylor.
Yeah, there you go.
Because it's going to be Jacob Eason at the helm, and that's no bueno. We don't like that. So just be aware of that. Carson Wentz is slated to start. I mean, he should be. He is on pace to do so. They're very optimistic about it, but just in case, be aware of it.
Business there. Risky business.
Yep. It is. It's a shame because I'm excited to see what he can do back with Frank Reich. So let's go ahead and talk just a little bit. I mean, actually, no. You know what? I lied. My mouse just died. Isn't that great? My mouse just died live on TV. Breaking news. I love wireless. It's so much fun. Okay, but before we go on to, I did have a special note in here. Everybody, thoughts and prayers for everybody in the Gulf Coast, in Louisiana, dealing with Hurricane Ida. It is so scary, and this is a process that is going to take so long to recover from. It is 16 years to the day since Hurricane Katrina. This storm is worse than Katrina. That city is one of my favorite cities to go to. It's why I became a New Orleans Saints fan. It is such an amazing town, and it's very, very, very sad. So the preseason game was canceled between the Cardinals and the Saints. So we're not going to be, talking anything about that. But it is incredibly sad. So thoughts and prayers, if you're able to donate any money, if you're able to donate time, whatever it is, even if it's just a donation of 5 minutes, just to send up some love and support for those people down there that are going through something really hard. I live in Florida, so I understand hurricanes. And New Orleans is one of the most beautiful towns. If it happened to any city, it's the same thing. So just thoughts and prayers go out to them for sure. All right, so let's go ahead and go on to something far less sad. That was really sad. The last 5 minutes, it was like, no J.K. Dobbins, Norm Smith. Ugh. Yeah. Okay, let's talk about some fun things. Quarterback battle in New England. I still don't know what's going on, but I can tell you that Cam Newton did throw 2 completions on 5 attempts for 10 yards and a touchdown. I'm sorry, no touchdown. I'm kidding. It was an interception. So there's that.
Yeah. Ouch.
Yeah. So I'm not exactly sure what's going to happen there. Wink, wink. I'm pretty sure it's going to be Mac Jones. What do you think on that one?
Return of the Mac. I'm all on the Mac Jones hype train. I definitely think it's better if he starts because it benefits the wide receivers, Damian Harris, et cetera, et cetera. They don't have to worry about Cam Newton running it in on the red zone. So therefore, everybody's happy in fantasy. Everybody's happy as a New England Patriot. So
yes,
I definitely think Mac Jones gets to start. 100%.
It's one of those beautiful merges when fantasy and reality football come together and they meet.
Yeah, the rare occasion they meet and handshake.
Yeah, they do. They're like, this works for me. This works for me. Yay, let's party. So I'm really liking Mac Jones on this. I hope it stays with it. Now, the other quarterback battle that I wanted to touch on here is in San Francisco. This one is very murky to me because Trey Lance and Jimmy Garoppolo, they both rushed in a touchdown earlier today.
Yeah.
They're both playing pretty good. Like, I don't know what to do with this situation. And it affects us in fantasy because we're not sure what to do about the receivers here either.
Yes, I definitely think it's a little weird situation to see them rotate every other play. Like, is this something we're going to see during the season? Oh, no. But it'll be.
I just got heartburn.
Yeah. It'll be so scary to see. It'll be something that we thought Winston and Taysom Hill was going to go through, but we're seeing it with Jimmy G and Lance, and they're both playing good. I like some of the smart decisions that, Lance was doing, and Jimmy G's still trying to, pump his chest like, hey, I'm here. I can rush in the ball too. So it's a weird situation, something we got to monitor. I mean, we're only 2 weeks out or less than out. So.
And Jimmy GQ, one of my favorite nicknames.
I like that name.
He's really, I can't take any credit for it. It is actually from someone else who made it up, but I really love saying it. He's not making the situation any easier for me to root for Trey Lance because he's being so kind and humble.
Yeah.
And cool about this situation. So it's no matter what, it's going to be exciting. It's going to be exciting for the organization. So we'll just kind of keep your eyes focused on that if you guys haven't drafted already, or if you have already drafted and you do have some shares of, let's say, Deebo Samuel, which I do, or Brandon Ayuk, which I do in another league. These are really good fantasy producers here that will have to be involved with what's going on here. And you're going to need to be involved on who is going to be throwing them the ball. So I like that. And, Daniel Jones, he did a great drive and then threw an interception in the red zone. So I guess not much has changed. Normal. I guess that's good. So what about you? Anything stand out for you on any of these preseason games that you think we should talk about?
Absolutely. I'm a huge fan of Josh Allen, but it's really what I've saw from Gabriel Davis this preseason and through camp. He's having a great camp. It is Gabe's season for everybody. It's late to the party. Wake up now. It's Gabriel Davis season. Now, I'm not worried about a 34-year-old Emmanuel Sanders deep threat, quote, quote. But Gabe Davis definitely stood out to me. Josh Allen looks like he trusts him. We saw 8 targets to Emmanuel Sanders. He only caught 4. But Gabe Davis had 5 targets, 5 catches, 75 yards, and a touchdown. That, to me, lets me know we're full sending the I got tongue twister. Gabriel Davis season. So
have you heard me talk at all on this show? Because I barely spoke English.
I think
you're fine.
I think you're fine. All messed up now. But he's definitely a guy that stood out to me, man. I was really excited. He's one of the guys I've been watching for the last year and really like banging that drum for him. So let's do it.
I love that. I was really excited to see him flash last year and just the potential that he has as a deep threat. Sorry, Emmanuel Sanders. No, no. I love him, Emmanuel Sanders, though. But yeah, I like that air quotes too, for sure. But Gabe Davis is a very interesting name. You guys can get him really late in drafts, and he is definitely worth a shot. Hang on to him, see what happens. He's a stash for sure. I love that take. And just real quick before we wrap up here, and I send you on your merry way, Andy Dalton is likely to be crushed in week 1 against the Rams. Their offensive line looks awful. It's not good. And here I was besmirching the Rams, and I didn't even bother to look behind you and see all of your Rams paraphernalia. That's how observant. That's how observant I am. But hey, we're still friends.
Yeah, we're great friends.
Yeah, whatever. But yeah, it's going to be really rough because their pocket collapsed more times than they even were on the field. How that's possible, I don't know. But it's not good. It's not good at all. And in order to alleviate offensive line issues, you need a mobile quarterback. And, Andy Dalton, your beard game is fabulous, but he's not exactly fleet of foot. So this is going to be a situation when it comes to terms of real football and how they're going to be able to move the chains and score points and be competitive in the NFL. So this will likely be Justin Fields sooner rather than later. I'm calling week 4. Do you have against the Lions? Do you have a team that you think he might start?
I'll say against the Lions. I can say week 4. I think, Matt Nagy is like an evil genius where we're actually going to give him credit for not starting Fields week 1.
Oh, absolutely.
Because
absolutely.
Aaron Donald's coming, and he's coming fast. You need to fear 99.
He's a big guy.
You don't want to put the Tesla out there. You want to put the Kia Soul out there, to do whatever. It's been ripped off.
I love how Andy Dalton's a Kia Soul. Yes.
It's like it might benefit him being on the bench to just watch that train wreck go down. The O-line, like you said, isn't performing well. Fields is able to roll out and extend the play and hit his receivers. Like you've seen the double coverage, in the end zone to the tight end that he threw. That was a beauty. I mean, those things aren't something that Andy Dalton can achieve. So, hey, we'll see what happens by week 3, week 4. But I can definitely agree. Fields, week 4, full send it.
Yeah, I mean, there's not going to be any issues, I think, at all with kneecaps. Just go ahead and pad those up so that Dan Campbell and his Lions can't bite them off. And I think he'll be just fine against the Lions. That's what I'm calling there too. All right, so before I kick you out of here, LaQuan, tell everybody where they can find you and what you're working on, all that fun stuff.
You guys can find me at Real Deal Fantasy on Instagram, MySpace, Tumblr, everywhere, man. You can Google me. I'm right there, Real Deal Fantasy, especially on Twitter and YouTube, of course. Right now, I'm working on a bunch of stuff. I got stuff come from Expand the Box Score. I got things going on with Downtown Rams where I'm writing some of my hot takes and some of the things that you guys need to be ready for this season. And I've just been overall just working. I'm just trying to be out here with the Mayo Media and deliver fire content only.
I love it. I love it. So make sure you go follow LaQuan. Not only are you a wonderful fantasy follow, but you are a wonderful person. Just, you bring so much, genuine care and knowledge, and you're a nice person. It seems like, social media has been missing out on super nice people. So we need to get that going again. And LaQuan is one follow that you will not regret having. Remember, everybody, if you haven't already, sign up for PrizePicks.com, promo code MMN. Go ahead and go right there, or there's a link in the description of this video. I am your host today. Hopefully I stay the host of a show for Mayo Media Network because I didn't speak English real good today, but that's all right. Maybe next time I will do better. You can find me at Stepmom Lauren. Everybody, football is so close. We're almost here, and I cannot wait. And we'll see you guys next week.